Jeremiah 37. Zedekiah, the son of Josiah, reigned as king, instead of Coniah, the son of Jehoiakim, whom Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, made king in the land of Judah. But neither he nor his servants nor the people of the land listened to Yahweh's words, which he spoke by the prophet Jeremiah. Zedekiah the king sent Jehukal, the son of Shelemiah, and Zephaniah, the son of Maaseiah, the priest, to the prophet Jeremiah, saying, "Pray now to Yahweh our God for us." Now Jeremiah came in and went out among the people, for they had not put him into prison. Pharaoh's army had come out of Egypt, and when the Chaldeans who were besieging Jerusalem heard news of them, they broke up from Jerusalem. Then Yahweh's word came to the prophet Jeremiah, saying, "Yahweh the God of Israel says, You shall tell the king of Judah, who sent you to me to inquire of me, Behold, Pharaoh's army, which has come out to help you, will return to Egypt into their own land. The Chaldeans will come again and fight against this city. They will take it and burn it with fire. Yahweh says, Don't deceive yourselves, saying the Chaldeans will surely depart from us, for they will not depart. For though you had struck the whole army of the Chaldeans who fight against you, and only wounded men remained among them, they would each rise up in his tent and burn this city with fire." When the army of the Chaldeans had broken up from Jerusalem for fear of Pharaoh's army, then Jeremiah went out of Jerusalem to go into the land of Benjamin to receive his portion there, in the middle of his people. When he was in Benjamin's gate, a captain of the guard was there whose name was Irijah, the son of Shelemiah, the son of Hananiah, and he seized Jeremiah the prophet, saying, "You are defecting to the Chaldeans." Then Jeremiah said, "That is false. I am not defecting to the Chaldeans." But they didn't listen to him. So Irijah seized Jeremiah and brought him to the princes. The princes were angry with Jeremiah, and they struck him and put him in the prison in the house of Jonathan the scribe, for they had made that the prison. When Jeremiah had come into the dungeon house and into the cells, and Jeremiah had remained there many days, then Zedekiah the king sent and had him brought out. The king asked him secretly in his house, "Is there any word from Yahweh?" Jeremiah said, "There is." He also added, "You will be delivered into the hand of the king of Babylon." Moreover, Jeremiah said to King Zedekiah, "How have I sinned against you, against your servants, or against this people that you've put me in prison? Now where are your prophets who prophesied to you, saying, The king of Babylon will not come against you, nor against this land? Now please hear, my lord the king. Please let my supplication be presented before you, that you not cause me to return to the house of Jonathan the scribe, lest I die there." Then Zedekiah the king commanded, and they committed Jeremiah into the court of the guard. They gave him a daily loaf of bread out of the baker's street, until all the bread in the city was gone. Thus Jeremiah remained in the court of the guard. All right, so at the start of this chapter, there's a new king. This is King Zedekiah. I previously explained that King Josiah, who was the last good king of Israel, had, multiple sons. And, the first son had a go, he died. The second son has a go, and he dies. And then his son has a go, that's Jehoiachin, or Coniah. And then now Zedekiah has become the king, which is the third. It's actually, is it the third son or it's the brother? I think it's the brother of Josiah. So it's a whole mishmash of various kings going on here. So we've now got Zedekiah the king. And Jeremiah has been in prophetic ministry for a long, long time. He was prophesying that the Babylonians were going to come way back when it looked like they might not be going to, and now they have. And Jeremiah says to Zedekiah, "Where are all those other prophets that said the Babylonians will not come?" Because clearly they were wrong. And clearly Jeremiah was right. So at the start, Jeremiah is dismissed as an irrelevant guy. He's saying things that are not true. No one's paying him any attention. But now he's respected. Well, at least he's a bit respected. because some of the things he said have come to pass. The Babylonians did attack, like Jeremiah was saying. So now the chapter starts out with the king sending for Jeremiah, saying, come and give us a word, what's going to happen. And it's a little bit like, you might remember back in the time of King Hezekiah, we talked about this in the book of 2 Kings and the book of Chronicles, and also in the book of Isaiah. Hezekiah sent for the prophet Isaiah to ask, what's the word of the Lord about the attacking Assyrians? In that case, the Lord said, the Assyrians are going to be destroyed and you're going to be delivered. And I'm guessing, and a couple of the commentators, they seem to think that King Zedekiah was hoping it would be like a similar type of word, hoping that, oh yes, God's going to destroy the Babylonians and they'll be, sent away just like the Assyrians. But no, the word is the complete opposite this time. When Isaiah went to Hezekiah, his prophecy was good news. The Assyrians are going to be destroyed and you're going to be delivered. But when Jeremiah goes to King Zedekiah, it's bad news. You are going to be delivered into the Babylonians. And naturally, they don't like it. It's a funny thing, isn't it? It's like if you say something good, we'll like it and accept it. If you say something we don't like, we'll reject it and say it's not really from God. And people still do that today. They sit in church, and if there's a good sermon, oh yeah, that's for me. Or if they get personal prophecies and it's a good one, oh yeah, that's for me. If it's a bad one, no, that's not God. Or they read their Bibles and they read the good bits and they apply them to their lives. That's for me. But the bad bits, oh no, not having that. It's a human thing. People are still doing it. So Jeremiah had been through a lot of antagonism in the past. Now he's a bit more respected. But when he comes to share this word, no, word's not accepted, just like before. So then what happens is the Egyptians the Egyptian army comes out of Egypt and they're marching north. And so the Babylonian army break off their siege temporarily. Now, a lot of things happen at this point. And you can imagine, like, if you're in Jerusalem and the siege is broken off and you think the siege is coming back, this is your chance to escape. And this is what happened when the Roman siege of Jerusalem, way later after the New Testament time, Jesus said to them, when you see Roman armies surrounding the city, flee. And the Roman armies actually did surround Jerusalem, but then they broke off the siege temporarily, and all the Christians bolted out, and all the Jews who didn't follow Jesus bolted in. So we'll talk about all of that when we get to Matthew 24 and Luke chapter 21. But here, the Babylonians break off the siege temporarily. This was the chance. If you were someone that believed what Jeremiah was saying, this was your chance to go. Now, Jeremiah, he wasn't fleeing, but he took this opportunity to go and see the block of land that he bought. You might remember that he bought a block of land, and we talked about this way back in, what chapter was it? 15, 17? I've forgotten the number. But Jeremiah bought this block of land, and I remembered at the time saying it was crazy to buy a block of land at a time when there was an impending siege. It's like it's the time you'd want to sell, because when there's an impending war, there's no guarantee you're going to be able to hang on to that land. But God had told Jeremiah to buy this block of land because it was a sign that they were going to get their land back after the siege. After it was all over, that they were going to come back. It was a sign. Well, now that the siege is broken off temporarily, Jeremiah just wants to go have a look at his block of land, right? Wouldn't you do that? If you bought a house or some land and you finally have a chance to go look at it, you would want to go see it. So as he's exiting the city, Irijah is in the gate, sees him and arrests him and says, you're defecting to the Chaldeans. In other words, you're just working for them and you're trying to go and join their side. And so poor old Jeremiah, he never gets to make it to go see his block of land. Poor fellow. And so he ends up being arrested. He ends up getting put into the courtyard, and the king basically provides for him food day and night until the bread runs out. So the chapter seems to be a bit sad. And you imagine it from Jeremiah's point of view, you'd be thinking, oh, not again. poor bloke can't catch a break. And yet, when I thought about this, I thought this was the mercy of God to Jeremiah, because the land was about to go through a terrible, terrible siege. The Babylonians actually were going to come back, just like Jeremiah said. And when they got back, there was going to be starvation in the city, cannibalism in the city. People were going to eat their own kids. When we get to the book of Lamentations, we're going to discuss all of this. The things that went on in the city of Jerusalem were so horrible, but Jeremiah, he's technically under arrest in the courtyard, but they're feeding him. And they feed him basically all the way up to right near the end of the siege when the bread runs out. And then he doesn't get anything to eat. But this is actually the Lord providing for him. So you read a chapter and think, oh, poor bloke, he's been arrested again. He's in jail again, can't catch a break. But somehow the Lord was providing for him. This is the Lord's kindness to Jeremiah. And a lot of Christians, I think a lot of people, they don't realize that sometimes in the most difficult of circumstances, the Lord is being kind. He sees the bigger picture. If he says to you, I'm being kind, I love you, I look after you, believe him. He is. That's the nature of our God. He is so good to us. So my prayer would be to say, Lord, open my eyes to see your kindness. Open my eyes to see your love, because the Lord really, really is good to us. Lord, I thank you for this chapter. Lord, you do keep your word. Lord, you knew that the Israelites needed the refining that was come with the Babylonians. But at the same time, Lord, I thank you that you care for your servants, Jeremiah. And Lord, I thank you that you care for us too. So I pray, Lord, that your word would live in us and we would not ignore it or deny it or disobey it, but give us grace to follow you. And I thank you for it in Jesus' name. Amen.